Hello and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really fascinating short story by G.L. Fuentes called A Letter to God. We're going to follow a wild premise, look at some deeply human reactions, and unpack a twist ending that is, well, it's as amusing as it is kind of heartbreaking. Let's just jump right in.
So think about this for a second. What actually happens when a desperate plea is sent out into the universe, addressed literally to the Almighty, and actual human beings decide to intercept it and answer? It's one of those premises that just immediately hooks you, right? It perfectly sets up this massive collision between divine faith and messy earthly reality. Let's look at exactly how Fuentes sets the stage here.
Our story kicks off in a small, unnamed Latin American village. The camera, so to speak, is focused entirely on this one solitary house sitting right on the crest of a low hill. And this is where our main guy, a hardworking farmer named Lencho, lives with his family. From up there, Lencho can see the river, he can see his field of ripe corn. It sounds idyllic, but it actually highlights something absolutely crucial: total isolation and absolute dependence. Lencho and his family rely entirely on this one single crop to survive. If this harvest fails, they have literally zero safety net.
And that total dependence leads to a morning of pretty intense anticipation. Lencho is a farmer who knows his fields intimately. He knows exactly what the earth needs right now, which is a massive downpour, or at the very least, a heavy shower. The text points out how he spends his whole morning doing absolutely nothing but staring at the northeast sky, just reading the clouds. It's that deep, almost instinctual connection between a farmer and the weather. He confidently tells his wife that they're finally getting some water, basically pinning the entire family's survival on those approaching clouds. When the rain actually starts falling right as they sit down for dinner, Lencho's joy is off the charts. He literally walks outside just to feel the rain on his skin. And listen to the specific way he describes it. These aren't raindrops falling from the sky. They are new coins. He's literally equating the weather to hard cash. He calls the big drops 10-cent pieces and the little ones fives. For a farmer living right on the edge like this, rain isn't just water. It's currency. It's food on the table. It is quite literally survival. But man, that joy vanishes in an absolute instant. We go from a field soaking in life-giving rain to just brutal, unforgiving devastation. Out of nowhere, a strong wind kicks up, and those beautiful coin-like raindrops turn into massive hailstones. The story paints this perfectly tragic picture. The field was left completely white, like it was covered in salt. The flowers? Gone. The leaves? Stripped from the trees. The corn is totally, irreversibly destroyed. In just a single hour, all of Lencho's promised wealth just turns to dust. Standing right in the middle of his ruined livelihood, Lencho is just crushed. He looks at his sons and says, "A plague of locusts would have left more than this." It's such a heavy, powerful statement. Hail leaves absolutely nothing behind to scavenge. There is no salvaging this. Lencho realizes that a whole season of back-breaking work was for nothing, and the grim reality hits them. The family is going to go hungry this year. There is no earthly help coming for them in this isolated valley. But here's where things get really interesting. Lencho doesn't just give up. Driven by this one unwavering hope that God will help him, he takes action. The story describes him as an ox of a man, right? Someone completely used to grueling physical labor. But he actually knows how to write. So at daybreak on Sunday, he sits down and physically pens a letter. He writes down his desperate plea, seals it in an envelope, writes the staggering, simple address to God, walks into town, buys a stamp, and drops it right in the mailbox. Now, the crucial thing to remember here is what he actually asked for. He wasn't asking for some vague miracle or just generally wishing for better luck. He was highly specific. 100 pesos. That was the exact mathematical amount he calculated he'd need to sow his field again and to keep his family alive until the next crop came in. It's a completely practical, transactional request born out of sheer desperation, and he directs it at the only authority he firmly believes can approve it. Which brings us to the second half of the story. Inside the local post office, a postman finds this bizarrely addressed envelope and takes it straight to his boss, the postmaster. Now, the text describes the postmaster as a fat, amiable fellow. At first, he just cracks up laughing. An envelope addressed to God? It's absurd. But then, almost immediately, the laughter stops. He becomes profoundly moved by the sheer, unadulterated faith of this stranger. So, not wanting to shatter that faith, the postmaster has an idea. he decides he's going to answer the letter himself. He organizes a secret act of charity, passing the hat around to his employees, his friends, and even giving up a chunk of his own salary. But here is the friction point. Despite his absolute best efforts and the collective goodwill of the entire post office, it was just impossible to scrounge together the full 100 pesos. The postmaster only manages to gather a little more than half, exactly 70 pesos. He puts the bills in an envelope addressed to Lencho, and to maintain the illusion and protect the man's faith, he signs the letter with just a single word: God. Let's move to the climax, because this is where Fuentes delivers a brilliant psychological twist. The following Sunday, Lencho shows up at the post office to see if there's a letter for him. The postman hands it over, while the postmaster watches proudly from his office, totally anticipating the joy of a man whose prayers were just answered. But Lencho shows zero surprise, none. His confidence is so supreme that a literal cash delivery from God is totally expected. Instead, when he counts the cash, he gets furiously angry. Why? Because in Lencho's mind, God is infallible. God does not make math mistakes, and God certainly wouldn't shortchange him the full amount he requested. Which leads us directly to the incredible punchline. Lencho immediately marches up to the public writing table, visibly angry, just scowling as he writes a second letter to God. He drops it in the mail, and when the eager postmaster opens it, this is what it says: God, of the money that I asked for, only 70 pesos reached me. Send me the rest, but don't send it to me through the mail because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. Talk about a spectacular backfire of good intentions. Deconstructing the twist: faith, kindness, and irony. Let's look at why this works so well. That ending hits so hard because it perfectly illustrates this tragic mismatch between our two main characters. We have to look just a little beneath the surface of this funny misunderstanding. On one side, we have Lencho. He is devout, he's simple, and he is fiercely determined. His faith is absolute, but as it is extremely rigid. On the other side, we have the postmaster, who represents human goodness. He's dutiful, he's empathetic to a stranger, and he's pragmatic enough to actually organize a fundraiser. The postmaster operates in the messy, practical world of human limitations, while Lencho operates in a binary world of divine perfection. So, when those two realities collide, a massive misunderstanding is practically inevitable. And that brings us to the core themes of the story. First, obviously, is that undying faith in God, which literally gives Lencho the strength to survive a hopeless night. But the second point is absolutely crucial. The power of belief can very easily become the blindness of belief. It's such a fascinating insight. Lencho's faith is so powerful that it completely blinds him to the earthly reality of human compassion happening right in front of him. And finally, the story shows us the immense potential for kindness, even in the worst adversity. Those postal workers owed Lencho absolutely nothing, yet they gave what they could. To wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with one final vital thought. Lencho is entirely convinced that the postal workers, the exact same people who sacrificed their own hard-earned money out of pure empathy to save his family from starvation, are the thieves who stole from him. That is the profound, unexpected irony of Fuentes' story. The saviors are condemned as sinners by the very man they saved, all because of an unshakable, uncompromising belief. So it really forces us to ask ourselves, how often do our own rigid expectations blind us to the very real, very human grace operating in our own lives? Think on that for a bit. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, and keep learning.